Well, tonight, tens of thousands of students across Tennessee are prepping for TCAP tests that start on Monday. They're a big deal, with a lot riding on child scores, creating lots of anxiety for parents and kids. Thanks for joining us. I'm Richard Ransom.
And I'm Pepper Baker. Tonight, we have team coverage from progress from last year's TCAP to family prepping outside of school. First, I follow up with a fourth grade parent whose son is yet again faced with the stress of scoring high enough to move on to the next grade.
It's a bad test. It does not measure academic success or aptitude. And so why are we putting everything on this test?
It's been a year since Lauren Giovanetti's son didn't score high enough on his third grade TCAP reading test, the start of a strenuous effort to keep him from getting held back.
In the appeal process, they looked at his grades, they looked at his scores at other tests. He's in the 90th percentile nationwide for his test taking and almost all straight A's. This year he's gotten 2 B's and all the rest A's.
But will her son's progress be enough this time around? A thought she shares with thousands of other Tennessee parents, crossing their fingers as their now fourth grade students take the TCAP test again, hoping the score will be high enough to show adequate growth, which will help them move on to 5th grade.
They are looking at one test on one day, and it's just really not a fair way to assess the kids.
This is how the state will measure adequate growth. The outcomes will be different for every child based on their test scores using this formula, which is a little hard to follow, so stay with me here. Let's use Johnny as an example. He's a fourth grader with a third grade TCAP reading score of 200, which didn't allow him to pass. Essentially, the state takes Johnny's third grade TCAP score, compares it to other students with similar testing history, and comes up with a number. In Johnny's case, the state projects his probability of passing is 25%. That number is subtracted by 50% and divided by 8, which represents Johnny's academic progress from third grade into high school. That number determines how many percentage points Johnny needs to improve on his fourth grade TCAP test score. So, Johnny needs a target growth of 3.125% to reach the state's adequate score. The final step, add that target growth to Johnny's projected passing probability. That's 3.125% plus 25%, which equals 28.1%. That is Johnny's adequate growth metric. So in order to pass the fourth grade, Johnny must score 28% higher than his third grade score. Remember, he scored 200 in third grade, so this year he needs to score at least 256. I know, a lot of numbers thrown at you there. Giovanetti praises Memphis Shelby County Schools for rolling with all the punches, which she says were thrown by Tennessee lawmakers.
I really blame the state legislature for putting us in this position. They're putting too much pressure on these kids. It is just extreme how much pressure these kids are under and how stressed out they are.
Now, the state did approve 12,000 students to move on to the fourth grade last year.